Oh. All right. Tech diff. We had some technical difficulties. We had to restart. I had to cut my computer off and cut it back on so I could talk about why the Naughty Dog founder revealed that the budget of original games reveals the budgets of their original games and why they sold to Sony. So, the main thing why I really wanted to bring this up is a lot of these developers are spending more and more money on these games. And I hope, I don't want to say it's starting to feel like it's starting to seem like, I hope that, I don't know, just this chair, but I hope that some of them are getting the picture that just because you make a sequel to a game in a beloved franchise, that doesn't mean automatic money, that doesn't mean automatic free dollars or nothing like that. You still have to make a good game. And with things like Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, I hope they realize that just because you make a great game, that doesn't mean that that's all you got to do. All you got to do is make a great game and sit down. No, you have to make a great game and let people know that the game exists so that the people that want to play it can go out and purchase and play it. But the Naughty Dog founder revealed, I read that ballooning development costs is a systematic issue in the video game industry, Andy Gavin says. Yeah, because a lot of the time from both people who have been on the inside in these industries and me as someone on the outside looking inside, it's mismanagement. Because some of these things are more simplistic than they seem. I don't want to say simple solutions because that makes it seem like that's all it takes to solve them. But some of these things are solutions where you could kind of just, shrug your shoulders and be like, but why the fuck didn't they? And the only answer that they would reasonably be able to do is go, anyway, one of the co-founders of Naughty Dog, Andy Gavin, has explained why the company sold itself to Sony back in 2001. Posting on LinkedIn, Gavin said he's been asked countless times why Naughty Dog took the deal, and it was all about rising development costs. So keep in mind, he's talking from the perspective of 2009. 2001. Well, 2009, same shit. But he's talking from the perspective of 2001. 2001 was how many years ago? 11, so that's 20. And then 1, that's 4. No, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. So 14 years ago. This is 24 years ago. Excuse me. So he's talking about this from a perspective of 24 years ago. The price was rising so much where they needed to consider, and they actually did sell to Sony. Where was I? When Naughty Dog first started making games in the 80s, game development costs were manageable, with costs for games in the nearly 80s running $50,000 per game. For 1992, well, let's see how much that is in current day money. 50,000, search, 50,000, 1982 to 2024. So adjusted for inflation, it only costs $100,000 to make a game. So in the 80s, you could spend $100,000 and make a game. And if you know anything about the gaming industry in this modern day, they're spending way more than $100,000. They're actually spending 10 times more than that. They're spending millions. And now with the higher up AAA games, they're spending billions of dollars. So this game that you paid $70, oh, it's in my console. But this disc, the case that this disc goes in, that costs $70. This case that a disc will go in, that $70 disc, it took billions of dollars for them to put that game together. I know it's hard to believe, but trust me, it took them over $1 billion to put that game together. For the first Crash Bandicoot game, however, cost rose to $1.6 million, with Jak and Daxter coming out to $15 million or more. So let's look it up. $15 million in 2001. Wait, no. 2001, and 2024. Buying power of 15,000 in 2001 and 2024 would be $26 million. $26 million. And like I said, a lot of these games are touching 100 billion minimum on the lower end. On the AA end, a lot of these games are touching 10 million, going up to the billions now. We're doing NBA contract numbers with these fucking, and a single person in the NBA has the same cost for a yearly contract as a full video game made in 2001. These motherfuckers make 15 million a year to dribble that ball up and down that court for your entertainment. Yet I seen that there was something in New Jersey, I believe, where instead of actually paying some fucking teachers some money, they lowered the requirements on reading and writing. They made it so that you don't have to be as capable to read or write to become a teacher, which I've always said, there's no hate to basketball players, but this is a question about society. Why is it normal to pay a nigga to do this up and down the court for $30 and $50 million, yet the person that educates your kids can't even feed themselves at home at night and have supplies for their class at the same time? Always been weird to me. But this is not that conversation today. Just a few years later, Jak 3's development cost came between 45 million and 50 million. So let's look on the younger end of the spectrum. Copy. I don't know when Jak 3 came out. Jak 3 release date. Yep. 2004. So let's look up 45 million, 2004 and 2024 money. So in today's money, it will cost $74 million to make Jak 3. But guess what? What did I say? I said a lot of these lower end AA games are touching 100 million. I'm not saying there aren't games that are financial breakout successes like Innersoft with Among Us, where they made these type of numbers while spending $20 a popsicle stick and some dedication to make a game. Or I know Among Us was one of the ones. Lethal Company last year, and then Lethal Company for 2023, excuse me, and then last year 2024, Balataro. That game broke out. Fucking card poker game. Everybody loved it. Everybody brought the shit out the game. Anyway, going back to this, Naughty Dog was self-funding all of its projects at the time. In case you're not peeping, that means if the last game made 100 million, they would spend 100 million making the next game, basically. Naughty Dog was self-funding all of its projects at the time, and the stress about financing these ballooning budgets independently came too much to bear. They was making money, but they wasn't making enough money to keep making money. Which, yes, that's a real thing that happens in business. Because there's making money and there's making enough money to make more money. Gavin said rising development costs is a systematic issue to this day in the video game industry. Developers almost have never had the resources to fund their own games, which gives publishers enormous leverages. I want to push back off of this. Off of, like I said, examples that I named, like in Among Us, a Lethal Company, a Balataro. But to be fair, those are breakout successes. Undertale, those are breakout anomaly. Once every year, twice, 3 times in a great year, breakout successes. So I want to push back on that, but I'm not. Because I could see some very valid counter arguments as to why that wouldn't be the case. But Naughty Dog had sold to Sony not just to help secure his financial future, but also to help Naughty Dog make the best games possible without being crushed by the weight of skyrocketing costs and a paralyzing fear that one slip would ruin it all. That's true. Because when you're working off your own funding, one of the more dangerous things that like people may not realize at first is if you make a whole bunch of money, right? And you leave out with however much money you got. So if you spend $1 million to make a game You make $5 million, and you take that $5 million, you shut the studio down. You never make another game. You sell off the IP. Never make another game with that IP. Never make another game at all, ever. Period. Never use the IP. Nothing. You make $5 million off that game, and you pull out. That's $5 million for you to pay off any debts the company has, and then you, the owner of the company, keep the rest, and you walk off and do whatever you want. Right? Versus if you take that $5 million and you make another game, it may cost you $1 million to make that first game, but now people are expecting more. Now you're gonna need more staff to pump out a product that is of a higher quality than what you just made in a shorter amount of time. It's like the example people always use of your debut album. You have an infinite amount of time to drop your debut album, your freshman album, your year one album. And I think the second year is junior. Let me see. What is a sophomore? I think it's sophomore. A second year. Okay, yeah. So whenever in music you make your debut album, your freshman album, your first album, you could take 23 years to drop an album. Nobody notices, nobody gives a fuck. But after you take that 20 years to drop an album, and let's say you take that 23 years to drop an album, you drop a great album, everybody liked it, it's critically acclaimed, everybody's like, oh my God, this is the most fire album ever, right? You're now on a time limit. You can't wait another 23 years to drop that album. Nah, in 1 or 2 years, people gonna be expecting another album. After a year, honestly, especially in this social media day and age where everybody's expecting you to drop music week after week after week after week, month after month after month after month, every day, every minute, every hour, niggas is scratching their veins, scratching their ears, waiting for you to drop something new when you have like a larger fan base. A lot of people are taught and told to be obsessed with these freaking artists, so they become obsessed and they expect a lot from you, even if they're not supposed to expect a lot from you. What's the result of that? Like I said, people sitting there begging you, doing anything to hear your music. So you could take 23 years to drop your first project because you're 20, let's say you're 24 years old, and that didn't make sense. Let's say you're 23 years old and you drop your first album when you was 23. So from age 1 to 23, you didn't drop that album? Nobody gave a fuck. You wasn't making music from 1 to, let's say, 17, I guess 1 to 17. Nobody cares. But when you drop that, when you finish that 23 years, get to the point where you have fans and stuff like that, and you drop that album, it's like, okay, you dropped your freshman album. That's cool. Now where's your sophomore album? And after you drop your sophomore, where's your junior album? After you drop your junior, your last year, and then people want more and more and more. And you just gotta figure out and navigate your own way to meet that demand. And like I said, the gap between how long you do something affects how much people want it and their expectation and their perception of it. People are waiting how many years for Grand Theft Auto? Because they know when it comes out, it's gonna be good. Not everybody has that luxury of making something so generationally, generationally impactful that people are willing to wait 11 and 12 years for a new game. It's also about taking, I don't want to say taking care of the market, but for lack of better words, taking care of the market. If your demographic needs new updates every month, guess how often you should be producing updates at worst case scenario. It is what it is. But according to Big Bro Gavin, he said, looking back, it was the right call. AAA games have only gotten more expensive since then. Today's big budget games can easily cost $300, $400, or even $500 million to develop, Gavin said. Would we have been able to keep up? Maybe, I guess. But start a sentence off with a conjunction. But selling to the right party gave Naughty Dog the stability it needed to thrive and continue making the kinds of games we'd always dreamed of. Although Gavin left Naughty Dog in 2004 prior to the developers Uncharted and The Last of Us franchises that we now know and love them for came onto the scene, Naughty Dog's other company founder, Jason Rubin, is also no longer with the company. Naughty Dog is now run by Neil Druckmann, who is president of the company, and he is also the writer of Naughty Dog's next game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Beyond that, Druckmann remains involved with HBO's TV show, blah, 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 blah. That's a bunch of stuff we don't give a fuck about. But I really just wanted to open up eyes and ears and minds to the conversation and idea that a lot of these games cost a lot. I'm gonna be real. One thing as an artist myself and as somebody who creates, because y'all may not consider this creative because I'm not sitting at a paint easel making a big ass painting of your favorite rapper or some shit, but this is a creative thing. I do have to be a creative person to be able to get up here and swerve into all these topics and have intricate thoughts and still be able to say some funny shit. That takes a level of creativity. That takes a level of understanding what you're doing. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. And like, whenever you're doing something creative, one thing you really have to learn is don't nobody give a fuck how hard you worked. You know how many times I've heard rappers go, yeah, bro, this song is fire. It only took me 20 minutes. My nigga, don't nobody care. Bro, let me ask you this. The first time you heard, what's the song that everybody loves? Dior. The first time you heard Pop Smoke, Christian Dior, I was at all the stores. Your first thought was not, it sounds like he spent 20 minutes working on this song and it just came out great. Your first thought was not, it sounds like he took 3 years to write this one song, 3 years and a team of 17 people writing it. No. You know what your first thought was? Your first thought, was, this is fire. Christian Dior, yeah, up at all the stores. That was your first thought. Nobody, when they're absorbing your art form, don't nobody care how much time you took, how much effort and money you spent. When people want to be entertained, they only give a fuck if it's entertaining or not. Another example I could give is with beats. There's some beats I could show you that I could be like, yo, the person who made this beat took 10 minutes. I could show you a complicated beat. Person took 10 minutes to make that beat. I could show you a simple beat and be like, yo, took them 5 days to make this beat. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. At the end of the day, when people hear your song in the club, they're not sitting in the club like that meme with dude in the corner, even though there's a ball, pretending there's a cup. Dude in the corner with the cup and the party hat going, I wonder precisely what is the exact amount of time that it took this person to make this song that is really hitting the spot, hitting the vibe, got me in my feels in the corner of the club with my homeboys holding me down because I'm about to text my ex and make some mistakes. Nobody is thinking like that, my nigga. They're just thinking good, bad. So this is like a really important thing that anybody out there who also wants to be a creative, who's also learning to be a creative, this is just something like I wanted to bring up and put on your mind. Nobody gives a fuck how much it takes. They just give a fuck if it's good or not. That being said, I don't know what the next article is or why I saved it or anything, but I do know that Virtua Fighter developers are aiming to keep the game plain, honest, and simple rather than filling the screen with flashy things like fireballs. Oh, yeah, because I was gonna say, before I do say anything, let me say something about how there's this wonderful substance on this earth made with hydrogen and oxygen, specifically 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, called water, and how you should drink some. I was outside making TikToks in the snow, so this water cold. This water busting. That chlorine, that pool water, busting. I was busting. Anyway, since the Game Awards 2024, much about this new Virtua Fighter seems to be shrouded in mystery. We haven't gotten a lot of details, but Sega did recently tease some key details and a sit down with Famitsu. For those of y'all who don't understand what Famitsu is or who aren't familiar with Famitsu, basically they're like IGN, they're Japan's IGN, not IGN's Japan division, but how Americans treat IGN, how it's like one of the biggest gaming outlets that people who don't even play video games and stuff like that go to. Yeah, that's what it is for them. Famitsu, even if you barely play video games, excuse me, in Japan, you know what Famitsu is. The article is in Japanese, but luckily they have Nicholas Taylor providing them with top tier translations. In the interview, the developers explain how they will compete with Street Fighter to I don't give a fuck, nigga, you're competing by existing. We recently took notice of a leaked image. I don't want to show that on stream because I'm not getting my shit copyright struck. Of the new Virtual Fighter that seemingly displayed an extra gauge within the UI during gameplay. Many have the I'll look at it off screen and I'll tell you about it, but I'm not gonna show that shit on my stream. Get my shit nuked. Boom. Let me see. Okay, yeah, because there's a little... Okay, so you know how in Tekken, under the bar... Because this looks exactly like how in Tekken, under the health bar, they have a little heat gauge. It basically looks like that. It basically looks like that. Then they got a little triangle-shaped timer in the middle at the top. Okay, this UI doesn't look bad. I'm just surprised there's nothing on the bottom of the screen, UI-wise. But yeah, that's basically what it is if you're curious as to what the meter looks like. Again, not showing the image because I'm not getting my shit copyright struck, but what I described is an extremely accurate description. Trust me, bro. Or you can look up this article for yourself and go to it. I don't give a fuck. Virtual Fighters had theorized this could be some sort of EX or Super Gauge. Nah, EX and Super Gauges go at the bottom of the screen, but there's also the possibility that it might just be a stun bar. True. Regardless, it would seem that we don't have to worry about Virtual Fighter reworking its identity to be more like Street Fighter or Tekken. In other words, the developers have explained that they have intended to have Virtual Fighter revolve around playing and honest fighting techniques. Yeah, but is that enough to compete in this day and age? Because I understand basically what they want to do is they don't want your screen to be flashing colors all over the place and people turning into monster demons and people throwing fire out of their hands and stuff like that. They want it to be real, genuine martial arts. But when it comes to like games of this nature, it's just because you're adhering to the way that you think FGC minded people would want it to be, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be good or fun to either them or the casuals. Because I've seen a lot of games try and make things accessible to the casuals and end up making shit inaccessible to casuals and making it unfun and unskill based to the point to where competitors don't like it. Even though niggas is trying to retroactively rewrite the history on Street Fighter 5, that's a great example. People hate the way that combos work in that game, especially parrying, because parrying in that game deadass doesn't take any skill. Versus now, people are saying, you know what? It was kind of a chill game where you come home from work, you don't have to sweat. Compared to Street Fighter 5, you kind of got to put in some work and think a little bit hard, especially if you're using classic controls. So it's really about finding a balance between fair and fun fighting. It could work though, because Virtual Fighter, like older Virtual Fighters are fucking fire. And this is kind of a boomer series, but maybe this is the thing that introduces it to the new generation. So, I mean, there's always that possibility. Regardless, okay, on that note, when it comes to Virtual Fighter and the story around it, it feels similar to K through 1 to me, said Masayoshi, Sega executive and Sega CS research and development #1 head. K through 1, what the fuck is K through 1? Was originally a straight lace karate. Let me look that up, because that may be a cultural reference that I'm not able to get, that I may be able to get a little bit of. K through 1. There's something about karate. Okay, so is it basically Japanese MMA? professional kickboxing promotion established martial arts entertainment planning and promotion. Yeah, so basically it's MMA, like how in America we have UFC. Just going off what I read, the little bit that I read on Wiki and whatnot, basically their equivalent of UFC. So K through 1 was originally, or K, I don't know if that's K through 1 or K1. I like saying K through 1 more. So K through 1 was originally straight-laced karate organization event started by Kazuyoshi Ishii. The K through 1 fighters would use karate, kickboxing, or other things that had been around for a long time, and there wasn't anything new. Continued Kazuyoshi. The entertainment of the matches was quite different from something like pro wrestling. There wasn't anything flashy. It was very plain. It was a very plain fight. But started a sentence off with a conjunction. But by adding in the path and story, which had led the fighters to this point, it became top level entertainment. That is a true thing. I'm gonna have to clap it up because this sparks an interesting thought. An interesting thought I had just now is, yeah, that's true. When I really think about it, every fighting league, fighting thing that I know, most people are more interested in why the fight is happening and why the outcome of the fight matters more so than the actual fight. Like, think about it. Let's say Tyson versus no, actually that's a bad example. I was about to say Jake Paul. Tyson versus who ear he bit off? I'm about to search that up so I don't sound stupid. Who ear might fight? Holyfield. Okay, I was right. I didn't want to say the wrong name. I was scared I would say the wrong name. But Holyfield, people don't care about who won between Mike Tyson and Holyfield. People care about the fact that Tyson got so mad that he bit a nigga ear off. That's a crazy sentence. Like, yeah, he got mad so he bit somebody's ear off. You know how exciting that sounds to somebody? Like, from a story perspective of like, that's an outlandish thing that really happened. How do you get to the point to where you just hug somebody and go "Argh!" and put your ear around their music intake device? Like, that's freaking crazy. But it's like when you hear about that, the lead up to the fight was tense. He was like, Mike was known for saying outlandish stuff, like talking about eating people kids and stuff like that. Talking about, if we was in prison, I would give you a kiss on the cheek and make you make my bed, or whatever he said with the I'm gonna kiss you on the cheek shit. Or even the time where Mike Tyson was saying that the person, I forgot who it was he said this to, but that famous Mike Tyson quote, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So like, stories about things like that, about lead ups to fights, people who are fans of martial arts sports, usually I'm a fan of fighting games, so I like to see the actual fight and the idea of combat. But most people like seeing the story that leads up to the fight, that explains why this fight should matter to you. That's why a lot of people would be invested in Floyd fights back when he was like in his prime in boxing, because it was cool to see another person go against a boxer who is undefeated. Because it's cool to go, oh, will he get knocked off his throne this time? For XYZ reasons, he's either on his tee, on the top of his mountain, or he's at the bottom of his mountain. Ooh, maybe he'll lose this time. Oh, he's new. When he was newer, and it would be like, oh, he's new. This is just luck. He's knocking people out because he's going against bums. But as he got more into his career, as he got older, people will go, well, you know, he's not getting any younger. He's really getting up there in age. So is he at that point to where somebody will be able to knock down the great for the first time and win a match? So people love the stories that lead up to a fight more than the fight itself. Even in the FGC, most people don't give a fuck about the outcome between a game with one of the 5 gods in it. Most people like the story of Leffen. First off, just to clear, fuck that nigga. But story-wise, most people like the idea of a random kid coming from a typically weak region for Smash Bros, basically importing himself into America and and then beating all the greatest people at this game for the last 5-10 years plus. Beating all the greats from when this game came out to the mid 2010s when this game was like 12, 13 years old at Evo, beating all of the greats. People love the storyline of him doing that and then saying, I'm tired of being good at this game, and then going and winning Evo, playing a whole different game of a whole different style and a whole different type of fighting game. People love the stories. They don't give a fuck about the outcomes or what happens in between the pages, what happens in between books. They give a fuck about the story. So yes, he's definitely hitting on gas with that one. Essentially, the developers are indicating that Virtua Fighter is intended to be closer to the fighting techniques of the real world. Same thing as Tekken, bro. That's the thing that I think they're really gonna need to fight. Because a lot of people don't know that Tekken started off as a Virtua Fighter clone, but because Virtua Fighter is a damn near dead IP, and they haven't been competing with Tekken or even in the conversation to competing with Tekken since before Virtua 5, because that game fucking sucks. It's going to be a real challenge to beat this shit is just Tekken allegations, because most people don't know that this started off as like I said, as the blueprint for Tekken. Most people don't know that. They just know Tekken 8. So they're just going to go Tekken 8 at home and disregard it. How are you going to be able to shut up the people who go Tekken 8 at home? Get this shit out my face. We won't be seeing a character suddenly throwing a fireball during a match, despite what's been working for Street Fighter and Tekken, even though those are different franchises. And people like the spectacularity of seeing somebody do normal ass martial arts and then throw a fireball. And I gotta clap it up for myself for saying that shit correct after making it the fuck up on the spot. Anyway, that's why you can look at games that have a Hadouken or flashy special moves like a pro wrestling type of entertainment, while that entertainment that Virtua Fighter is aiming for would be closer to what K1 was, declared Yokohama Kazuyoshi. I gotta remember to replace that with Kazuyoshi because I can pronounce that, which is a very true thing, because a lot of more people want to see the more spectacular stuff. But just as there's people that want to see the spectacular stuff, there's an equal amount of people who want to see the less spectacular stuff, who want to see the more plain stuff. You just got to find them. And it's obviously going to be a smaller demographic, but if you're the head of that smaller demographic, you win. So rather than change the rules or fill the screen with a bunch of flashy bullshit, we'd like to keep it plain and honest and try and enhance that side of it as its draw. From my starter sentence on with another conjunction perspective, that's what we have to do. Fair. He said, look, we know we're not going to beat them at being more flashy. We know that we're in a similar lane. We're in the lane right next to theirs, right? We're not in their lane, but we're in the lane next to theirs. But so that people don't confuse us, we're going to stay on this same highway. We're just going to go 2 lanes over from them. Have a lane of space in between us. I can understand that. I can respect that. Like I said, they're not trying to be the greatest ever. They're trying to be the highest in their niche. With the aforementioned leaked image, many longtime Virtua Fighter fans were worried that the series would take on these flashier techniques that we've seen in Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat. Ultimately, though, it seems that Sega intends to compete with other modern fighting games by sticking to their roots. Yes, play to what makes you unique. That's just a thing in life in general. Indeed, during the short gameplay sequence shown to us during the Game Awards 2024 trailer, Akira, now wearing a fedora and coat, is seen engaging in a skirmish against someone who was initially believed to be Sarah Bryant, but is actually known as Stella. During this gameplay snippet, and then we only saw Akira and Stella throwing out realistic moves that we'd expect from the Virtua Fighter franchise. The two remain relatively close to one another, indicating that the new title may emphasize rushdown. Oh my god. Please don't make the game. Please make the game require actual skill. That's one of my problems with Virtua Fighter 5. You could kind of just lick the controller and something good will happen. Of course, neither fighter threw out a fireball is something that one might expect from SF or Tekken. It was a segment that could easily be recognized as Virtua Fighter. Recognized as being Virtua Fighter. There's still a lot of this upcoming fighting game that we don't know about just yet, but we'll be sure to keep an eye out for more reveals as they happen. Yes, sir. And something that I can't wait to see the reveal for is the Switch 2 and how that maybe the first Batman adjacent game that will come to the Switch 2 allegedly is one that you probably don't want. Allegedly. Imagine Gotham Knights being one of the first games you play on your brand new Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah, that's something I don't want to imagine. And when I get the Switch 2, y'all know when and why I'm getting the Switch 2. Y'all know when and why I'm getting the Switch 2. Let me repeat it again, just in case you didn't hear me. Y'all know when and why I'm getting the Switch 2. Okay? Don't play dumb, don't play stupid. Don't give a fuck, close that shit out of here. I don't want to see your video player, nigga. Look at how small an exit. How long is this article, bro? Exactly. If I scrolled up and scrolled down and I did whatever. I was about to get mad, but whatever. Gotham Knights, in case you've managed to completely erase it from your memory, was poorly received by critics and most players. It wasn't that bad. It just had it was like the same case. Well, it was a slightly better case than Suicide Squad. A lot of people dunked on it harder than I think they should have. But it's one of those games where if you don't have a bitch in your ear telling you that the game is bad, it's not that bad. But once you do have that bitch in your ear, it's like they're not wrong. Gotham Knights completely that was poorly received by most critics and most players. It had very few technical issues on PC and it had a few. I was about to say very few. What the fuck? Glitches on PC and consoles, but much of the criticism was directed at its GASS-like scope. Structure, unnecessary looter shooter RPG head-ass mechanics, bland characters. I don't know about that one. And a story that many felt wasted the potential of one of Batman's greatest antagonists, the Court of Owls. Nobody said that. Now, YouTuber blah 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 spotted some suspicious entries on the resume of one QL. Oh, QLook. Okay, so if they're a major porting house, let's look it up. A first-class service provider for the video game industry. Oh wait, let me move it over so y'all can read it. A Polish software and game developer company based in the Park of Warsaw. It was founded in 2009 and from the beginning employed a group of industry veterans from the localization department. So they're not lying. They're not lying. I'm scared to press play on that video because again, I don't ever want to show leaks on my stream. Because I don't like talking about leaks because a lot of the time leaks are just nothing burger ass reveals for people who are just scratching their arm fiending for more information to pump into their veins and satiate their unquenchable to satiate their unquenchable curiosity and dying need for this game to come the fuck out. Oh, for whatever game it is we're talking about this time. And this time, not so much game, but a console. So, like, a lot of the times, that's what rumors and stuff is. But this one may have something to it. And this is going to be a side article, so I don't give a fuck. Who supposedly worked on ports of Gotham Knights. According to the page, the senior programmer helped port the game to 2 unannounced platforms, which look to be Switch and Switch 2. Unannounced in this instance could be referring to the fact that the game hasn't been announced for these consoles, not that the platforms themselves are yet to be revealed. And that type of shit right there is why I don't like to talk about fucking rumors, because they're nothing burger ass things that can't be confirmed or denied most of the time. Now, the reason why I'm going over it now, because that's a funny idea. We may live in a world where one of the first games you get to play on the Switch successor is fucking Gotham Knights. Nigga, you gonna go on the online in Gotham Knights and your character gonna be like this. Cause of that shitty ass Nintendo netcode taking 1,000 years for you to just uppercut a nigga a couple times. Be in the middle of your damn combo, you got enough time to go to the bathroom, take a piss, read a book about a solid shoe core, go learn a new life skill, come back, and a motherfucker still went from this, progressed from their punch going from here to here. Shitty ass Nintendo Online. But considering it has yet to materialize, however, we're going to assume that that version was canceled. Wait, what? Oh. Not that the platforms themselves are yet to be revealed. Indeed, Gotham Knights was rated for Switch ESRB all the way back in 23. Blah, blah, blah. If you don't have any intention of buying Gotham Knights when it arrives on the Switch 2, but still itching to play something with whatever. But let's go ahead and put on the sad music. Let's go from lit music to sad music. We gotta pour one out, man. Hold up, I gotta make sure y'all can really see this properly. We gotta pour one out, man. We gotta cry it up. We gotta cry it up, chat. We gotta cry it up. Cause Amazon finally, when a crashing realization came down, that after 15 years, just like a nerd at prom or whatever the fuck they said, we're having a realization that it ain't happening. If you ordered Mighty Number 9 on your 3DS, you ain't getting your copy, gang. Amazon, your order canceled. Oh. Mighty Number 9! Not Mighty Number 9, the game with the Cheeto explosions. Not the Mega Man successor that couldn't even be as big as it needed to be. Not the Mega Man game with half the Mega Man mechanics. Not the game that fleeced everybody, no. The not so mighty Number 9. Unfortunately, what followed was disappointment after the Mighty Number 9 failed. While the funding secured for Mighty Number 9 was massive, the months and years that followed were met with delays after delays after delays due to development struggles and confusion among fans. Yeah, there's also the fact that the lead developer was lying about certain things. You know, there's also that. People started to worry that the project wasn't going to reach its lofty goals. And when the game eventually did hit Wii U and other platforms back in 2016, it was the final nail in the coffin. I know what a dagger is. It was the final nail in the coffin. Many found the game to be lackluster in just about every area, leaving plenty of gamers wondering just how so much went wrong. Some might remember that there were versions of Mighty Number 9 included in the crowdfunding goal that never saw release. On the Nintendo side of things, there were supposedly plans to bring the game to 3DS, but till this very day, that hasn't happened. Backers realized years and years ago that Mighty Number 9 was never going to hit 3DS after so many delays and years of radio silence. After they got their shit days gone, but for whatever reason, Amazon is better than when the emotional realization came crashing down. Mighty Number 9 was gone to the sound. There was a bunch of things that I was actually never got to say to Mighty Number 9. So many questions. I get it. It's Mighty Number 9. Because it's no longer here. Cherish your loved ones while they're still here, people. Cherish the possibility of your pre-orders coming in. Also, another thing I kind of want to touch on for a second is it's things like this why like I am strongly against pre-ordering games. But if you do or are a person that pre-order games often, you should always be aware that something like this could happen. People pre-ordered this game 15 years ago and still like have no word on like if their orders were canceled or nothing like that, and it never freaking came. So like one thing I always like tell people is, hey, if you pre-ordering games and you're not like a content creator or like a game tester or something like that, whenever you pre-order that game, just pretend like you tossed that money in the trash can. Don't pre-order a game if you ain't got tossed that money in the trash can. Money is something I always believed in. So just to break character for a little second, yeah. But to go back to crying about how sad it is that we're never getting money, never die. Backers realized years ago that Mighty Number 9 was never gonna hit 3DS after so many delays and years of radio silence, but for whatever reason, Amazon has made it official today. If you had a pre-order Mighty Number 9 on Amazon, you might want to check your email, as the company is now canceling those pre-orders. It's likely pretty much everyone who pre-ordered the 3DS version has lost his head up on the game. But any who are holding out hope have now had those dreams crushed. You wanna play that shit on 3DS? You gonna have to get the mod and bitch ass nigga. It's sad. The final chapter in the Lamb's Cluster legacy for Mighty Number 9 has garnered for herself. Oh, not Mighty Number 9. It could have been Mighty Number 8, Mighty Number 7. Shit, take that nigga Mighty Number 11, but not Mighty Number 9, bro. I put a bowl on the floor, so I'm not messing up my floor. Pour one out for Mighty Number 9. Now that we're done pouring one out for a real one, the music ended at a perfect time. Let's reactivate the Megalitness instrumental in the background and talk about how Microsoft is using Bing to trick people into thinking